Welcome to Great Britain, the sceptred isle that has been the focus of Western civilization for over 1,000 years. It has also been the greatest producer of Formula One world driving champions. The first of these was the most proper Englishman of all, Mike Hawthorn, who wore a bow tie when he raced and took the world title for Ferrari. Then there was Graham Hill with the pencil-thin mustache and 2 world championships. He also produced a son who would contend for the title. The Flying Scot, Jimmy Clark, took 2 world titles and an Indy 500 win before dying in a racing crash. John Surtees was a former motorcycle world champion who took to 4 wheels and won a world championship of his own, followed by Jackie Stewart, who took 3 for Ken Tyrrell and will return to Formula One next year. James Hunt never really cared much about the world title till he got into Formula One and decided he wanted it very much. He took it from Niki Lauda in 1976. Most recently, Nigel Mansell, the Lion of England, took Williams-Renault to the title in 1992 and then moved on to Indy cars. He is very much missed here in England. Now there is Damon Hill, son of Graham, who hopes to win the title this year and become the first second-generation Formula One world driving champion ever. Today, Damon Hill can take the next step with his 7th Grand Prix win of the year. Welcome to the former Royal Air Force Base in Silverstone, England, site of the Grand Prix of Great Britain, the 47th edition of an event that has been a part of the Formula One World Driving Championship since the very beginning. Today, Damon Hill can gain a measure of revenge. Mighty Silverstone lies about a 2-hour drive northwest of London, hard to get to, but very much worth the trip. Incidentally, Towcester is pronounced toaster, if you're asking for directions. Derek Bell joins me once again. There you see the crowd very much behind Damon Hill in this race, most important to every British driver and team. Let's review this week's on-track buzz.
Despite a 2-year contract with Williams, it appears Villeneuve's position is not so secure. Frank Williams says it's news to him. After all, 2nd place in the World Championship isn't bad. And Damon Hill, well, he's very relaxed in his quest to take the World Championship this year. See how he gets on today. There's talk about the split with Gary Anderson, technical director at Jordan. He's not at the race this weekend. One would think he would be at the British, after all. It is the home Grand Prix. Look out for McLaren. They're getting closer every race. And of course, Hakkinen was quickest in the warm-up this morning. The Italian press are calling for the sacking of Ferrari team manager John Todt following the French Grand Prix disasters, adding fuel to the hero to zero syndrome anyone at Ferrari experiences. He was a hero following the Spanish Grand Prix victory, and after France, he was at 0.
We'll explore those stories and more as the day goes on. A year ago here at the Silverstone circuit, Damon Hill put his car on pole, much to the delight of a sellout crowd. Then in the race, he took the early lead, but soon gave it up to the Benetton of reigning world champ Michael Schumacher. Late in the race, Damon tried a very ill-conceived dive down the inside of the world champ, took both out of the race. And their bad news was a tremendous boon to another Englishman. Johnny Herbert, who had suffered all year long as Schumacher's teammate at Benetton, came through to take his first Grand Prix win in the biggest race of all for a British driver. There was tremendous celebration up and down the pit lane for one of the sport's most popular drivers. James Allen spoke to him this weekend.
It was, you know, such a good feeling of winning your home Grand Prix, first Grand Prix as well. And I think in the situation I was in with Benetton as well and Flavio, it just makes it made it probably that more special. Obviously, with Michael and Damon having their little fight, you know, it helped me a lot. But at the end of the day, you know, I did do a good race anyway, and I was there for the end of the race to win it. So that was good, and I really enjoyed it, and hopefully it will happen again soon.
Well, certainly a large portion of this crowd of 90,000 spectators hopes so too. We'll be back with more preliminaries to the Grand Prix of Great Britain. Today's Speed World coverage of the... Welcome back to mighty Silverstone. We're just moments away from the start of round 10 of the Formula One World Driving Championship, the British Grand Prix. Bob Varsha along with Derek Bell with you. Earlier this year, we were with you live from Monaco for perhaps the grandest Grand Prix of all, Monte Carlo. And what a day it was for everyone involved, especially Frenchman Olivier Panis, who took the first victory for the Ligier team in 15 years, and all of France celebrated. It's been a different career for Olivier Panis since. Here's James to talk with him in this edition of James Allen's Off-Track Buzz.
Well, we were thinking of a typically French pastime to play off-track buzz with Olivier Panis. What better than pétanque? Olivier, should we make it more interesting? 200 francs a person.
Okay.
Let's play. Too strong again. You're good at this game.
Yeah.
You've played before.
Yeah.
Has the excitement of winning that race in Monaco worn off yet?
Yeah, now it's finished because Monaco is very good race and it's very happy. It's fantastic for the team and for me. But now it's continue for work for maybe the many podium or another podium. Now is Monaco is good, is okay, and now it's continue.
It's hard not to be competitive with this game, isn't it?
Yeah. Too long.
You have a wife and a son?
Yes, just one wife and just one son.
And how old is your son?
He's 20 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very nice. Now he's speaking a little French, not speaking English for this moment, but then two years ago, maybe it's okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
It's very good.
It's big poof. 3-2. Ah.
I'm beginning to enjoy this game, Olivier.
Yeah. One,
Yes!
2. Oh la la.
I win.
5-3. You win. I hate to do this, James, but you won.
Thank you very much, Olivier.
Yeah, thank you.
Time.
No, it's finished.
All right, thank you, James. Don't spend it all in one place. 90,000 fans are in their seats. We have some cloud cover overhead, but as you can see, it's fairly warm. We are just moments away from the start of the race. Closer look at the racetrack, Derek.
Well, of course, Silverstone's 3.15 miles. Very fast circuit with a series of slow complexes in it to slow everybody down. Famous circuit, the famous Stowe School down there, the Abbey where there was an Abbey at Silverstone in years gone by, New Corner Pra in Luffield, and here we are on the circuit plan so we can see some gear ratios and top speeds. As we go up into the Chapel and the Beckett complex, they fly into it at 170 miles an hour, actually slow it all the way down, come at 105, to pick it up to get up at 176 in 6th gear down into Stowe Corner. A new, very smooth corner they put in, speeded it up from last year, up to 5th gear, down into Club, and of course then up into the new complex at Vale, of course leading into the bridge turns and then these low speed corners into the chicane before the pits.
Now, rather than us telling you how to set up your race car for Silverstone, let's go ask one of the engineers.
Hi, I'm Nick Worth. I'm Gerhard Berger's race engineer with the Benetton Formula One team. Setting a car up for Silverstone is quite a challenge because you have a combination of high-speed sweeping corners at the Beckett's complex, then some medium-speed corners, followed by a tricky infield complex before the start-finish line. And we're running a medium setting of downforce, which gives us the right compromise, we feel, between the high-speed corners and the medium and low-speed corners. Plus, we need to run a reasonably stiff setup to get the car through the high-speed corners without the thing falling all over the place. And the ride heights on the track are really set by one very large bump in the middle of Stowe Corner. So we try and get the car as low as we can just to cope with that bump. And that's really how we try and set the car up here at Silverstone.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. All right. Thank you, Nick Worth, former owner of the Simtech team that went into bankruptcy last year, now working for Benetton. As you can see, cars pulling out. Let's take a look at our starting grid for today's race. On the pole for the 6th time this year, the 17th of his career, Damon Hill in the Williams Renault with a lap averaging right at 130.5 miles an hour. Jacques Villeneuve will be right alongside 5th 1-2 sweep in qualifying for the Williams team this year. Row 2, Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari, trying to make up for the debacle in France 2 weeks ago. Mika Hakkinen has the McLaren Mercedes alongside and was quickest in the morning warm-up. Row 3, Jean Alesi in the spare Benetton. He liked the handling better in the warm-up. And Rubens Barrichello of Brazil in a very important race for Jordan Peugeot. On row 4, Gerhard Berger in the Benetton Renault, his 12th British Grand Prix. He has one podium to show for it. Martin Brundle will be alongside in the Jordan. Row 5, David Coulthard in the McLaren and Eddie Irvine in the Ferrari. On row 6, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Sauber and the Tyrrell of Ukio Katayama, who out-qualified his teammate. Mika Salo will be on row 7 alongside the defending champion of the British Grand Prix, Johnny Herbert. On row 8, Jasper Stappen of the Netherlands in the Footwork Hart, alongside Olivier Panis in the Ligier. On row 9, Pedro Diniz in the second Ligier in the Minardi of Giancarlo Fisichella. And back on row 10, Pedro Lamy in the Minardi and Ricardo Rosset, who did qualify in the number 17 spot, but missed the weigh-in and technical inspection. He lost his qualifying times. He will start at the back. 2 cars will not start the race, Andrea Monterbini and Luca Badua. Terrible problems trying to work out engine bills. They got in only 3 laps apiece before the cars stopped off the racetrack. 5 true Brits in the field. With the crowd behind them, we'll see what they can do in their home race. We'll be right back live. It was Damon Hill in 94. It was Johnny Herbert in 95. Will another Brit climb to the top of the podium this week? That remains to be seen. The story lies ahead of us. It might be Ron Dennis's McLaren team. Points coming into this weekend of the championship. With 9 races down, Williams-Renault leads the Constructors' title chase. Well, at this point, they seem to have virtually locked up the title. Ferrari and Benetton tied for second. In the Drivers' Championship, Damon Hill holds a 25-point lead over his teammate Jacques Villeneuve, while Michael Schumacher is in third and has all but conceded the title to Damon in 1996. However, we have a long way still to go in this 16-race season. As you see the cars out on their reconnaissance lap, notice all those helicopters on the near ground. Today, Silverstone, former Royal Air Force Base, is the busiest airport in Great Britain, with over 3,000 helicopter takeoffs and landings. The reason for that is quite simple. There is a narrow 2-lane country road that serves this racetrack until they can build an exit from the nearby motorway. And as a result, traffic getting into this racetrack is legendary. Backed up for some 7 miles yesterday. I haven't seen any lines lately, so I assume everybody is in their place. A sellout crowd of 90,000 on hand, restricted to 90,000 after spectators invaded the racetrack several years ago to celebrate Nigel Mansell's victory in the British Grand Prix. Bit of butterflies for a British driver in this race, Derek?
Just a little, I think, but Damon has shown great confidence and great, what's the word, sort of control over the last 3 days. I saw him at dinner on Thursday night in London, and he was very relaxed about the whole thing, having dinner with some friends, and you know, just taking the thing as just another race, but he'd obviously dearly love to win this particular race, his home Grand Prix.
For the British-based team, this is the track at which they do all of their testing. They know it very, very well. But several teams do not test here. Those foreign teams, Ferrari, Sauber, Ligier, Minardi. So they have come in without a basic setup. They've had to work very, very hard to try to come to terms with the British teams. I would imagine that's quite an advantage.
Yes, testing here certainly is a great advantage. I think it's remarkable the way Ferrari have gone when you consider that that Michael Schumacher did his quickest lap on about minute 17, you know, yesterday qualifying. So, no, it's a great advantage for the British teams.
As you see, the starting grid curves back around to the Woodcote corner. The drivers at the back will be turning as they accelerate. Revs come up, and here we go. The 47th British Grand Prix is underway. Good start across the board for the Williams team, although it looks like Villeneuve may get the lead, and a Benetton rocketing up the outside of Lacey. He'll go wheel to wheel with Villeneuve. And Mika Hakkinen got a blinder of a start as well. Damon Hill trying to fight his way forward from 5th.
Yeah, that was quite a start by Villeneuve, and what a great start from Alesi. He rocketed up, and Hakkinen had it all there. Boy, he just came straight through the middle. And after, obviously, his warm-up session this morning, it gave him great confidence. And we've seen the way that McLaren has improved during this last 2 or 3 weeks. So it's no wonder that he got right up there with the confidence Hakkinen's got. But, of course, he's yet to win a Grand Prix. He's having a look down the inside of Alesi there, but no, Alesi won't give way through the new Stowe corner.
The fastest cars in the warm-up were Hakkinen, Villeneuve, Hill, Schumacher, Alesi, and they are all right there in the early laps. Now Michael Schumacher looking for a way around Hakkinen. He bobbles a bit, has to slow. He's got Damon Hill right on his gearbox, and Martin Brundle just behind in the Jordan. There's Hakkinen, Alesi, Villeneuve, Alesi, Hakkinen, Schumacher, Hill, Brundle, and then Eddie Irvine with a good start as well. He was back in 10th.
Yeah, he had a great start. It just depends. It's the luck of the draw. If your side of the track opens up at the start, you just whistle through. And here we come now as we come through these very tight second gear corners. It's so important in these early laps that you just shut your eyes and go for it. Keep the track, get the track as fast as you can in front of you. You just got to keep your eyes straight ahead. Don't worry about anybody behind.
Was it back in 1973 that Jody Scheckter spun there off the Woodcote corner on the first lap, collected almost the entire Formula One field? The first time a race had to be red flagged and restarted. Frankly, the officials didn't know how to do it.
Well, of course, that was when there was no complex there. You came straight from Club Corner all the way down through Abbey, down to Woodcote, and it was about 170 mile-an-hour entry and 160 mile-an-hour corner. Slightly different today.
Jacques Villeneuve rocketing away from the field. This conjures up the Grand Prix of San Marino at Imola. Recall that Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve had the field covered in qualifying. They decided to go two different ways on pit strategy. Villeneuve went with a light fuel load. Damon Hill went with a heavy fuel load, could not get on terms with the Ferrari of Schumacher and his teammate Villeneuve in the early going, but came through to win the race. And there is something pluming from the back of Schumacher's Ferrari.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's a plume of something coming out there every now and again intermittently as he comes down into a corner. Can't see anything right now. We just had a message that there was not a single movement on the grid. Everybody did a perfect start, so there are no infringements there, which is refreshing, but it did look a perfect start from our position. There it is again. There's another wisp of smoke from Schumacher's engine, which doesn't bode well for Ferrari. And another one there.
Oh, my. Recall 2 weeks ago in France when Schumacher's V10 Ferrari expired on the very first warm-up lap. They hadn't even taken the flag yet. And the Ferrari parked by the side of the track, which led to a volcanic eruption in the Italian press. The Ferrari team has been doing double duty trying to stamp out fires in the press ever since. Could there be more problems for the two-time world champion? As you watch the field stream through, look at the lead that Jacques Villeneuve is opening up.
Yeah, he's pulled away a second and a half, nearly a lap. That's tremendous at the beginning of a Grand Prix, but we don't know what the strategy is. We don't know whether they're running for maybe just a one-stop. There's another shot of the start.
Damon Hill, the lower car on the front row, and as you see, slow getting away, which I suspect means he has a very heavy fuel load. Meanwhile, Jean Alesi in the blue and white Benetton, Mika Hakkinen, the red and white McLaren, right up there with Jacques Villeneuve into the first corner. Schumacher goes by, and look at Eddie Irvine in the second red car, making up all kinds of time into Copse Corner.
Yes, it was obviously Eddie's side that moved. You saw Villeneuve had a better start, so everybody down that right side went for it.
You ride with Damon Hill at the start.
As you can see the way Damon was putting on some opposite lock there. He's almost jumping up down to get traction. Oh, there's Schumacher slowly coming to the pits. Oh, my goodness me. 3 laps into the race, or 4 laps into the race, and he's already coming back.
How is this possible? If there was one car the Ferrari team was going to spend all of their time on, it would be this one.
Still running, but that's about all you can say. But one doesn't know what the problem is, but obviously pretty major. They had a major piston problem at the last race. They had problems when they tested at Monza. They lost one engine and had another minor problem with an engine. They said it was the pistons, but there you go. That's the way it is. It certainly looks that way to us.
The ironic thing about that piston failure in France was those pistons were supposedly made in Germany. And they let Michael Schumacher down.
Well, I think most of the pistons are made in Germany. I think it's Mahle, M-A-H-L-E, and I believe they make most of the pistons for Formula One these days, and most racing engine manufacturers. But of course, I wouldn't like to put a name on the particular pistons in this car, but it seems fairly obvious that they might well be. Of course, Damon, you don't know, might have had a load of oil on his visor as well. He wasn't getting too close to Schumacher, but now he's catching up on Hakkinen, so he obviously was a bit wary of Michael putting oil down and spinning him off the track. Remember, it's a long race, still a long way to go. And he's now right on the tail, of course, of Hakkinen, so we'll see what happens. But Jacques Villeneuve is well away.
McLaren team has 2 different versions of their car, a long wheelbase car for tracks like this, a short wheelbase car for the tight, twisty racetracks like Monaco. The ironic thing is they're using the short wheelbase car this weekend. And when we asked Mika Hakkinen about it, he said, we're using it because it's faster.
This is a bit of a hybrid, I think. I think there's a few different components on it from both different chassis, but whatever it is, it's working. And as we said before, they actually ran very, very well indeed during pre-race testing and did actually split the time for the top 2 Williams cars. So the confidence in McLaren is certainly up at the moment, and you can see he's actually pulled away a bit down in that last section past the pits.
Meanwhile, chins are on the floor of the garage at Ferrari. Michael Schumacher has made it back to the pits. It would appear his race is finished. There is the 2-time defending world champ. There is the man who is really on the hot seat now. Team manager Jean Todt. Into the garage goes Schumacher. He's finished. We'll be back. We are back live at Great Britain, and Eddie Irvine is on fire. That Ferrari began to trail smoke about half a lap ago, but rather than pitting, the Irishman kept it on the racetrack, and now Jacques Villeneuve is smoking at the rear of the Williams Renault. What is going on here?
This is wild. The race of engine failures. But more to the point, those Ferrari disasters so soon in the race, that is just tragic. Both within 2 laps, and they bet your life they've both done the same number of miles. Absolutely atrocious.
Schumacher already in the garage when Eddie Irvine came by the start-finish line, completely enveloped in smoke. Boy, is there going to be a firing squad for the team to face when they get back to Italy. Let's take another look at what happened to Eddie Irvine as he came down through the Luffield corners onto the start-finish straightaway. Look at the smoke coming from the back of that V10.
Yes, I don't think Eddie looked in his mirrors much, because he's certainly holding the whole of the field up and making sure they don't have too good a time of it. You can share in my misery if you will.
That was Gerhard Berger behind him in the Benetton, I believe. Paolo Martinelli and the group at the engine room at Ferrari are headed for their computers at this moment. Meanwhile, Mika Hakkinen holds down 2nd place.
Yeah, Damon's not making much impression on him at all.
Make a 3rd place for Hakkinen behind that man, Jacques Villeneuve, then Jean Alesi, and then Damon Hill.
It's superb to see that Benetton going so competitively at this stage. Now, what are we seeing here?
That's from Michael Schumacher's on board.
Oh, there. I don't know what you're going to see. Oh, yeah. Sounds like bits of piston are flying around in there somewhere. Lots of red lights as he peaks the revs out, but you won't see them anymore because he's not going to get maximum revs at all now.
Pictures coming to us from British television. Looks like Hakkinen might be closing up a little bit on Alesi for 2nd place, and certainly Damon Hill closing up on Hakkinen. There is Eddie Irvine, ready to begin the debrief.
And the shutters go down on the garage.
Going to be a short debrief. The famous stock car driver once said, "Gun blowed up."
Yeah. Alesi's pulled back a bit on Villeneuve at this point. He's pulled back 5/10 of a second over that lap. But Hill isn't doing very much about Hakkinen. It's quite interesting. But Damon, I would suggest, is very much using his head, and let's face it, he is leading the World Championship quite handsomely. He just wants to get a good position. However, he would dearly love to win, but you have to get things in perspective and figure out just what you really want out of it. No point in being a fool, and Hakkinen is not going to give him any leeway. Plus, it's very, very difficult to get by at Silverstone, particularly at the pace these fellows are going.
Mark Brundle in 7th, David Coulthard back in 8th. The Scotsman having trouble with the McLaren once again. Mika Hakkinen seems to be okay with it.
This is through the Abbey, this is through Club as they come through Club. Bit of adverse cam here. It's quite a strange corner, this one. And then it leads up, of course, to the new Abbey complex. This is where they're braking from 168 miles an hour down into 2nd gear for this corner through here. Up here and then down and under the bridge, through Bridge Corner. And we normally used to go straight on there, straight into Woodcote. You can see straight across the back we used to go. Now they have this new complex in the middle, which is quite slippery, quite interesting to drive on, but of course a lot of G-forces.
Look at the crowds on hand. British Grand Prix, one of the few races that has been a part of Formula One throughout the modern era. The first race of the newly reconstituted Formula One series was held here in 1950. King George VI himself came to watch. Giuseppe Farina took the first victory in an Alfa Romeo. The next year, Ferrari took its first Formula One victory. Hands of Froilan Gonzalez. Over the years, several of the top teams scored their first victories here. Clay Regazzoni took the first for the Williams team in 1979. And John Watson, our broadcast friend from Great Britain, took the first for McLaren International in 1981.
I actually met Mr. Gonzalez 3 weeks ago. He was driving at Goodwood Festival of Speed, aged 82 years old, and he drove the V16 BRM up the hill. It's the most unique sound of any racing engine you'll ever hear. It was the noisiest, but almost the flattest. It wasn't harsh or a shrill noise, very flat. And there he was driving the car up the hill in his old helmet. And then across his helmet, he had 6 holes right across the front of his old pith helmet that he'd had since the 50s. And somebody said, "What are those holes for?" He said, "Oh, they'll let air in to cool my head down." not allowed these days.
Goodwood Festival of Speed. Great occasion if you're ever in England in June. You see the best lap and the last lap comparison. Villeneuve noticeably quicker than Jean Alesi. Nearly a full second. Right with Damon Hill, whom we suspect has a heavy fuel load. Standard operating procedure here at Britain would dictate 2 stops for changes of B-compound Goodyears. Damon Hill may have something else planned, as may Jacques Villeneuve.
Only time will tell, won't it? We'll have to wait and see. But of course, the pit road entry is quite a long way at Silverstone. It's quite slow, so therefore it is a disadvantage to have to stop for fuel, or do an extra stop for fuel and tires.
There is Jacques Villeneuve. Second in the Drivers' Championship in his first season in Formula One. Now keep in mind, this is only his 10th Grand Prix. He's already won 1. And he leads Michael Schumacher in the Drivers' Championship. So it's hard to fault Villeneuve's performance. The Formula One ramrod Bernie Ecclestone recently did exactly that. Said, "I thought Villeneuve would be better than this, that he would completely outclass his teammate Damon Hill." Hasn't happened that way. That's no discredit to Jacques Villeneuve, who has driven brilliantly. We'll be back live in a moment. McLaren Mercedes of Mika Hakkinen, followed by this man, Damon Hill, runaway leader for the World Driving Championship in 1996. He leads Villeneuve by 25 points coming in, running in 4th place right now. Coming at you into Copse Corner. 61 laps the race is scheduled for. As you saw, 50 laps remaining.
Those 3 or 4 of them have pulled away quite well from the next group. There's quite a big gap between them and Barrichello.
Now, Jacques Villeneuve had 1 set of new B-compound Goodyears available to him at the beginning of the day, and he used them to start the race. He only has scuffs to go to when he makes his pit stop. On the other hand, Damon Hill started on used tires or scuffs, and he has 2 fresh sets remaining. There is a big spin by, I believe that's Pedro Diniz. Yes, it is, in the Ligier.
It didn't lose too much time, and if he is... Oh, that was close. He had to take to the sand. That was mighty close.
That is Katayama in the Tyrrell.
Oh, what a big mix-up there. But, boy, they're really lucky. Nobody went in the sand.
At least not very far.
Hear that going right the way down to the bottom of the 2nd gear. Of course, he's using the automatic parts. All he does is he presses the switch, and it automatically goes from 6th gear down to 3rd, if that's what he wants. It's already pre-tuned in there. There's a button on the left side of the wheel. You can just press it to automatically select the gear he wants in certain places.
You see him sliding around a bit. Track has been slippery throughout the week.
Well, in reality, nobody has done more than about 10 laps during the whole weekend. And it's very, very different when there are 26 cars, all the touring car races, all the vintage races, all the Porsche Cup races that there have been. There's a lot more rubber on this track, or it's in a certainly different situation to what it was.
That's a lot more oil on it, too. Now, in fairness to the Ferrari engine department, the word from the pits is that Michael Schumacher was stuck in 6th gear. That's why his race ended. Eddie Irvine had what was obviously an engine problem.
I thought it looked a bit like Schumacher had an engine problem to me. Didn't like he was stuck in any gear to me.
I'm not making any comment. They said it was a gearbox, and I believe them.
I've been there, boy. Ferrari like, good gracious. That is really a joke.
Mika Hakkinen with Damon Hill just behind him.
Yes, it seems like Damon has said, right, I'm going to have a bit of a go here. I've had enough of this sitting behind. But look at the power of that Mercedes engine. It streaks out of the corner and up the next chute, up into the bridge, or the Abbey complex, should I say.
Ron Dennis, managing partner in the McLaren International team, says the engineers at Mercedes are now doing what he called the optimization of the Mercedes engine, which of course is designed and built by the Ilmor firm here in England, who build the Mercedes engines for IndyCar, as well as the Formula One normally aspirated 3-liter machines. Dennis said the engines are being optimized by Mercedes engineers in Stuttgart, which I found very hard to believe.
Yeah, I wonder what optimizing totally means. It means they're doing the final tuning by the sound of it, or they're getting the optimum out of it. It's fairly logical, I guess, but I would have thought Ilmore had done a pretty good job before. I would have thought they've just got some final tweaks they want to do maybe in Stuttgart they don't want the people in England to know about.
Well, it's getting better and better.
It certainly is.
The Ferrari story is better too. Here's further word from Ferrari. Hydraulic pressure was lost, which while Michael Schumacher could not operate his gearbox. And they're also saying Eddie Irvine had a gearbox problem as well. So.
Okay, looks like the poor guy in the gearbox department is going to get the bullet in the head this week down in Modena, not the guy that did the engines. But it looked distinctly like there was a certain amount of oil floating about somewhere, escaping, giving clouds of smoke.
You see the running order through the top 6 points-paying positions. 10, 6, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The points pay out for those spots. Gerhard Berger switched place with Martin Brundle in the early laps. He now runs in 6th behind Rubens Barrichello. There's Martin Brundle in 7th. David Coulthard, the Scotsman, 8th. Heinz-Harald Frentzen. A lot of speculation that he's already done a deal with Williams for next year to replace Villeneuve, but who knows? Damon Hill is not signed up for next year. And there are reports in the newspapers he's going to want a lot more money if he wins the World Championship this year. Frank Williams says it may be a signal, but I'll be talking with Damon later on, and I can't tell you whether he'll even be back. Keep in mind, of course, the Williams team has lost 2 world champions in the 90s. Nigel Mansell and then Alain Prost won the world title with Williams and then left the sport.
Yeah, Frank Williams said he's seen lots of press cuttings which had found their way into his waste bin, but he'll be talking to Damon fairly shortly. When Schumacher was asked about Hill's demand for 12 million, Schumacher said, "You mean 12 million lira, which is of course about 50,000 pounds." I think it was a very light-hearted remark from Schumacher, sort of thing any driver would say. Hill is over the back of Hakkinen right at this time, but he only seems to get him under slipstreaming or drafting down that straight.
And there you see the gap from 1st to 4th between the teammates, Villeneuve and Hill.
Oh, clouds of smoke. It looked like it from a Lacey. Oh, something. It was awful cloud or something, wasn't it? Not a good sign.
I'm assuming it was tire smoke.
It must have been. There's no smoke out of the car. It must have been a Lacey locking up wheels, which he actually did a bit in qualifying yesterday. But the only car we saw lock up any brakes was a Lacey. And he does seem to get on it very hard.
This battle for second could get interesting real soon.
That was Bridge, and this is, of course, where Hill took out Schumacher last year, and as Rosset pulled over, he didn't have a very good race, starting from the very back of the grid, poor guy, pulled up about 3 places, and now he's parked, so the hard engine not going too well this weekend.
The Arrows team has been busy under new owner Tom Walkinshaw. Brian Hart has produced a pneumatic valve version of the V8, which they used in qualifying. Revs up to about 14,700 RPM. Well more than what the mechanical valve version of that V8 was doing, but they are not racing it today. They've also been doing a lot of testing of Japanese Bridgestone tires, done in secrecy. Supposedly, we hear the tires are quick, but they are blistering. So Bridgestone has a lot of work to do in anticipation of returning to Formula One to challenge the Big Blue Boys from Goodyear.
I spoke with Tony Dow on Friday, what was it? Yeah, Friday lunchtime in the pits, and he was very complimentary about the Bridgestone tires. He said it was, a good way to go, and they were learning a lot from it, but still a long way to go.
Meanwhile, Goodyear has been signing up as many of the top teams as possible. We know they have a deal with Williams and Ferrari. We understand one is going to be in place very shortly with McLaren and Sauber. The idea being to leave Bridgestone to the smaller teams, make their development that much more difficult. We'll be back in a moment. Back live at the British Grand Prix. Bob Marsh and Derek Bell with you. There is race leader Jacques Villeneuve, who is rocketing around this track at a second a lap faster than the rest of the field. There is Damon Hill, still trailing the McLaren of Mika Hakkinen. Defending World Cup champion Brazil takes on the FIFA World All-Stars. Soccer comes to America. Brazil versus the world. Today, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific, here on ESPN2. There's the classification after 17 laps. You see John Alesi, who lit up his Goodyear tires a few moments ago. Pit stop coming for one of the Jordans. This is Martin Brundle.
Must be getting new tires. Yeah, they're new tires, all right. Well, that fuel seems to take a lifetime, doesn't it, to go in? Off he goes. They seem very slow, the pit stops. We just saw Panis do a pit stop at 13 seconds, and now Brundles took 12. And of course, as I said, it's a long way into the paddock. Long way into the pits, long pit lane.
Well, if they started light on fuel, which would call for an early pit stop, we're working lap number 16, lap number 17, and it stands to reason they'd be in there for a while they pumped in a lot of extra fuel. Keep in mind, those are pressurized fueling rigs used in Formula One. Push the fuel in. Pretty alarming clip. Hakkinen leads Hill through the Luffield complex.
See, it's interesting to watch at this point, Bob, is that the aerodynamics don't play any part really at the speed they were going through that complex, and Hill could not make any advantage over Hakkinen whatsoever. And in fact, Hakkinen is pulling away with sheer engine power, which is interesting to note. It seems that the Williams has better braking and is better in the faster corners. But you watch the way Hakkinen pulls away out of those corners.
Well, Hakkinen has really been on form this weekend. There you see the gap from Villeneuve in first, back to Hill in fourth. Hill continuing to lose ground. Give you a look at the morning warm-up times. Villeneuve being blocked by, I believe that's Giancarlo Fisichella in the Minardi. Yes, it is.
It was a fairly good block he gave in there. But of course, don't forget, Fisichella's probably having a bit of a dice with somebody. But of course, Alesi all the time is catching Villeneuve up. When this sort of thing happens, it gives Alesi, who you can see right behind there, gives him quite an advantage. And Villeneuve hasn't had it easy in the traffic the last 2 laps.
Hakkinen, Villeneuve, and Hill were the fastest 3 cars in the morning. Of course, once they put fuel on board, plan their race strategy, very different things can unfold in the opening laps of the race.
Yeah, I'm a bit wrong with that. Actually, that's Panis, I think, who's following them behind. Just as the blue car, and I guess it must be Panis who he took last lap. But of course, Panis is running very quickly and can stay sort of in the same area of the times of Villeneuve.
19 laps complete. This race is going down at a tremendous clip.
Imagine what it was like when they used to average 150 miles an hour around this place. Well, actually, the race average was 146. That was the fastest race average ever.
Villeneuve down 16.4 seconds up on Alesi. Hakkinen runs third. He's coached in part by Alain Prost, the 4-time world champion. Prost said something interesting this weekend. He said, if the press gets on your case, if you don't have the press on your side as a driver, it can take away what he called 20% of your potential, which I found kind of fascinating from a guy who was considered psychologically bulletproof. And Prost would say that a fifth of your ability to perform well goes away if the press is hounding you.
Oh, that's a really good stop for Barrichello, which puts pay to your remarks just now about he must have started with an empty load, and that's why they're putting more fuel in.
Well, that's why they run the races.
The Hill's right up the tail of Hakkinen right now. But of course, you see at the high-speed corners, Hill loses a lot of ground effect. There's too much turbulent air, and of course he can't get that close in the fast corners. The slow corners, he can run with him. As you can see here, it's not upsetting the balance of his car, although he did have a bit of tail-out movement there, but I think we've seen that quite a few times. Up into the Luffield Brooklands complex, which is the new section, right sort of almost behind the pits. Very slow, second gear, third gear, back down to second for this one, squirting into second, second again, and then out onto the Woodcote straight.
This little battle that you described raises another issue in Formula One. They're trying to find a way to redesign the formula so that cars can run close together, something the Formula One Technical Commission is working on, doing a lot of very expensive aerodynamic studies to see what they can do to allow the cars to run nose to tail without the man behind losing all sorts of downforce. One of the things they're talking about is adding IndyCar-style Venturi tunnels to the bottoms of what are otherwise flat-bottom race cars. You see Villeneuve continues to rocket away from this field. I would say at this point, Hakkinen definitely holding up Hill.
Hill, yes, definitely. Hill is going to have, there he goes. Hill is just, I was going to say, Hill is going to have a real go in a second. He was bopping about in his slipstream, but of course, that corner is faster than last year, this new Stowe corner, which means obviously you enter it faster and therefore there's less opportunity to overtake. Whereas when last year they had to brake very severely for it, it meant that you could have a banzai go down the inside.
Back in the days when McLarens were more competitive, Hakkinen was considered a very difficult man to pass.
Times haven't changed much, I don't think Hill's going to find. But of course, as we noticed just now, Villeneuve's pulled away at 20 seconds. Well, that's a very good pit stop for Villeneuve, and he'll still come out in the lead ahead of Hill.
Jacques Villeneuve has set fastest lap, 129.288. Now the track, because of the changes to the Stowe corner, is 1/100th of a mile longer officially than it was last year when Damon Hill set the fast lap of the race at 129.752.
Right now, it'd be quite logical for Williams to bring Hill in and give him refueling and fresh tyres, because he's losing time behind Hakkinen. It makes logic and a lot of sense for him to go out and sort of drop, lose 20 seconds in a pit stop and therefore not have Hakkinen in his way and get some clear running in front of him. I'd have thought that would be a good move for Williams right now.
Jacques Villeneuve drawing away. He picked up 2 seconds on Jean Alesi on that last lap. Whoa. There's Pedro Lamy in the Minardi getting out of the way of the racers. Lamy back to Silverstone, the track at which he had an enormous crash, potentially a career-ending crash, driving for Lotus years ago. Formula One started changing the wing settings on the cars in the aftermath of Ayrton Senna's fatal crash at the San Marino Grand Prix in Imola. Lamy lost the rear wing on his car, flew over the fence, landed in what would otherwise be a spectator walking area. No one was there on a test day, of course.
What had happened there?
Well, there's a Minardi.
Looks like clouds of brake smoke. It has a bit like an Alesi brake job to me, but maybe we'll never know.
It's in the Luffield complex.
Yeah. Now you think Hill would come in this lap? Is he going to?
Well, it appears not. Getting back to Lamy, he broke both of his legs in that crash. Got good medical attention right away, and he's back in Formula One with Minardi.
Whoever had that lurid moment under braking or spinning would certainly have not done his tyres any favours whatsoever. And he will have to go, and I reckon whoever it was, get taken, have a nasty moment.
Now we're being told that it was Olivier Panis who spun the Ligier in the Luffield complex. Meanwhile, the Williams team is loosening up, getting ready for a pit stop. We're told it is Villeneuve who will pit first. There's Pedro Lamy pulling off the track in the Minardi. Rubens Barrichello, after that pit stop, runs 7th. Martin Brundle has also stopped. He's back in 9th. That shows you the difference between the 12-second stop that Brundle had and the 8 or 9 second stop that Barrichello had. Johnny Herbert in and out of the pits, and now Jacques Villeneuve brings his Williams Renault in for service. Rumors are that Villeneuve may be talking to the Jordan team about next year. On the face of it, it may seem unusual in light of the fact that Villeneuve has a contract with the Williams team for next year, but stranger things have happened in Formula One. Now keep in mind, Villeneuve must go out on scuffed tires. He has no fresh Goodyears left.
And there you see Hill just going by him on that corner as Villeneuve comes out. But as I said, it's quite a long pit stop. He was in there for quite a long time, because he was 20 seconds ahead of Hill. My feeling about this Villeneuve situation is that Jacques couldn't have done better. You couldn't expect him to be ahead of the World Championship in his first year in Formula One. And after all, he is lying second in the championship. You can't beat first and second with the two Williams.
Jean Alesi inherits the lead. Jacques Villeneuve now runs in 4th place as Mika Hakkinen and Damon Hill move up to 2nd and 3rd. We'll be right back to Britain. Back live at the British Grand Prix. Bob Varsha and Derek Bell, glad to have you with us on a beautiful day in England. Here is the running order with 24 laps complete. Alesi, Hakkinen, and Hill all running within 3 seconds of one another. Jacques Villeneuve pitted and came out in 4th place. Gerhard Berger expected to be the first of the Benetton runners to pit.
I still can't quite understand why they didn't bring Hill in and get him set it up with fresh tyres and fuel, because it would have meant that he wasn't stuck behind Hakkinen, and that's what has really held him up in this race. We've seen some of his tactics before. There must be a good reason for it, because logically you would do it the other way, as I say, the way around that I anticipate, and that would be Hill to go in the pits first. And now, of course, we've got the situation where Hill is being held up, and of course, in fact, Villeneuve's not going to make a silly move on Damon, which might create any chance of them both going off the road, so they're both actually going to be losing time now.
These are the high holy days of British sport, with the European Soccer Championship at Wembley now complete. Wimbledon finished just a week or so ago. Now the British Grand Prix. He's a British sports fan. Lots to do this time of year.
Well, at least the sun's out for this one. Poor old Wimbledon suffering so terribly badly. The rain.
Damon Hill chasing Mika Hakkinen still. It's the moisture he's gathering on that onboard camera just above the engine air intake. Hill has been a contender at each of the last 3 British Grand Prix. He won in '94. Michael Schumacher was docked for passing Hill's pole-sitting car on the formation lap. 1993, teamed with Alain Prost, he dominated until the engine blew late in the race. And in 1995, of course, he had his celebrated collision with Michael Schumacher. But his 19 victories in 59 Grand Prix starts makes for a 32% winning percentage, and that is only 3rd all-time behind Juan Manuel Fangio, who won 24 of his 51 starts, and Alberto Ascari, who won 13 of 32.
Hill is the Williams pit are getting ready for Hill, so I presume next lap he's going to make the move for the pits. But meanwhile, both Hakkinen and Hill are catching right up on Alesi, as you can see there, with Panis in between. I presume it's Panis. It might well be. Oh,
Hill is
Damon's off. Unbelievable. Oh no, there's a bit of a path there. You think, no, he's obviously stalled it. Unbelievable. He's out of the car. The end of his British Grand Prix hopes.
He was due to pit at the end of this lap, we are being told. And so now Damon Hill's British Grand Prix record will include his 3rd DNF in 4 years.
That is tragic for the guy. I wonder what happened. He does seem to have a tough time when he's with other traffic. And here we're going to get a much better look at it.
4th car in line, I believe. Ooh!
Oh, he sort of took a look down the inside of Hakkinen, realized he wasn't going to make it, and of course the brakes locked up and away he went. Look at that, he just missed that bit of path there. I don't know if it would have taken him anywhere any good, but of course he stalled it.
That's in the Copse corner, just past.
Whoa, look at that. He really locked up brakes. That was almost like something broke or something let him down in the braking area. But, I mean, he just crossed it up as he came down in there.
But so quickly, I wonder if he burst a brake disc or something. It just snapped out of control under braking. There's Patrick Head, the team technical director. There is Frank Williams, owner of 2/3 of the team. Head owns the other 1/3. And Damon with a bemused wave to his fans in the grandstand.
I really wonder what happened there. He wasn't really looking at the inside of Hakkinen. I mean, he sort of was, but as he braked it, suddenly the tail went out. Most unfortunate. Oh, and here's Hakkinen coming in for his stop.
McLaren stop.
Hakkinen hasn't got new tires going on at this point.
The best in the business, McLaren. 6.9 seconds for Hakkinen, who suddenly looms as a major figure in this race.
Looked like there was some full course yellows out there, although yellows for that corner maybe. The yellows for the corner, because that corner we just saw that Hakkinen's just going round now on the pit road is obviously Copse corner, and that's where Damon went off. So maybe that's why the yellow lights were flashing there.
I'm guessing it's a local yellow down in Copse for the car. Yeah, there's John Alesi. We await a pit stop for him. And he has already produced a cloud of smoke from his tires.
But Jacques said he seems to like a bit of off-road, and I think that's what it feels like with his tires like threatening pieces, all lumpy all around.
I assume that means he didn't flat spot those tires, or he'd be really going through a teeth rattler right now. As Damon Hill's car is towed away forlornly, we want to remind you, you can check out all of the action of the days in motorsports today on RPM Tonight. It'll be at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:30 for you on the West Coast. Then Monday through Friday with John Kernan from Charlotte, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. John Alesi, 28 laps in the books, still looking for his first pit stop. Appears he will be on a one-stop strategy. We'll see if it can win the race for him. Plenty of action still to come from Britain. Stay with us. Back live at the British Grand Prix from Silverstone in England. Jean Alesi circulating in the lead. Excuse me, Gerhard Berger in third. There is Alesi in the lead. Meanwhile, Michael Schumacher exploded the engine on his Ferrari early on and dropped out, as did his teammate Eddie Irvine. And most recently, Damon Hill, the overwhelming favorite to win this race, also spun himself out of contention. He has had a remarkable career at the British Grand Prix. Take you back to 1993, Damon Hill, along with teammate Alain Prost, sweeping the front row for Williams. Hill sped off into the lead and dominated the race, looking for his first ever Grand Prix win. What better place to get it than in your home Grand Prix? But it was not to be. Late in the race, his Renault engine expired, a rarity for Renault in Formula One, and Damon Hill's dreams were shattered. Even gave the car a celebrated kick before walking away. 1994 was Damon Hill's dream year. Running third behind Gerhard Berger and Michael Schumacher. Gerhard Berger pits the Ferrari. Michael Schumacher later black flagged. Damon Hill came through to take the victory. What a moment for Damon Hill. One that a British driver most treasures. Waving the Union Jack and then standing on the podium having accepted his trophy from Princess Di. And then last year, Damon Hill came in once again as his rivalry with Michael Schumacher had become the central issue in Formula One. They sat on the front row together. Hill went into the lead. Michael Schumacher in the Benetton took it away from him. Then Damon Hill tried this move in the Luffield complex and took both cars out of the race. Johnny Herbert went on to win. More disappointment for Damon Hill with his second DNF in 3 years, and then this year on pole, and this moment just a couple of laps ago off into the gravel trap. And for the third year out of 4, Damon Hill stood at the sidelines waving to his fans. There's Mika Hakkinen, who got a brilliant pit stop from the McLaren team. I wouldn't be surprised to see Hakkinen doing well, and for all of McLaren's troubles, they are, of course, widely regarded as the most arrogant team in Formula One. There's been a few snickers over the years as Ron Dennis and his boys have produced one bad car after another, changing engines year after year after year. They lost Alain Prost, they lost Ayrton Senna, they lost everything, haven't won titles in years, and now they are coming back. And to be honest, there is optimism in the pit lane and some good thoughts for McLaren. Good to see them coming back online. Here comes the race leader, Jean Alesi, headed for the Benetton pits.
It was interesting to note that Villeneuve wasn't making any inroads on Alesi in those last 4 or 5 laps. He didn't really have to get by him because obviously he's immediately by him now. Here we go, quick stop, 10.5 seconds. Great stop by, but I hope he doesn't exceed that 50 mile an hour. Seemed to go pretty quick to me.
Pit lane speed limits, even on a nice wide pit lane, such as you see here at Silverstone. There goes Hakkinen by.
Yeah, that just shows that was the advantage of that great pit stop that McLaren gave Hakkinen. You see, 4 seconds quicker they were in their pit stop. That makes a lot of difference. The tyres, of course, with Alesi, his tyres would be at 80 degrees Celsius anyway, so his tyres are right up to race temperature. I mean, they will run at 100 degrees, but they're up to 80 now, so he doesn't even have to consider bedding the tyres in.
Giancarlo Fisichella, the young Italian, in the Minardi just ahead. Jean Alesi tries to bring his car up to speed.
It's amazing how some cars really seem to get in the way, but he didn't hold him up too much there, thank goodness. Villeneuve to Alesi 4.6, so there's not a big gap at all.
Well, it's been a while since we talked about McLaren battling Benetton for the lead in a Formula One Grand Prix. Remarkable drama we've seen here over the last couple of years with new winners. Johnny Herbert coming through to take victory a year ago. Great moment it would be for McLaren if they can come back to the podium, perhaps even the top step. More pit stops still to come. Jean Alesi obviously on a one-stop strategy. Mika Hakkinen, I anticipate, would have one more stop to make. You see Olivier Panis, winner of the Grand Prix of Monte Carlo earlier this year, 9.6 second pit stop for Ligier. Rumors swirling that the French government of Jacques Chirac is trying to convince Alain Prost to take over the Ligier team. Prost says, "I'll need the backing of French businesses to the tune of $90 million or I won't do it."
That's for him.
Right, sure. A couple of years ago, there was talk of Alain Prost. He tried to buy the Ligier team, but he said he needed a $50 million budget, and he couldn't get that. In a few years, inflation in Formula One has driven that budget to be competitive up to $90 million. But that, of course, includes Alain's share. You see the gap from the second-place car of Berger to the third-place car of Hakkinen. But keep in mind, Berger has a pit stop coming up, and it may come in the next lap. Hakkinen with Alesi just behind him. Here are the top 6 in the points championship, and where they are right now. Damon Hill has spun out. Jacques Villeneuve runs in the race lead. Michael Schumacher only got a couple of laps into his British Grand Prix. Jean Alesi is 4th after a stop. Coulthard 6th. Mika Hakkinen 3rd. Here's Gerhard Berger pitting. Now the accelerator pedal works.
They were ready to go, weren't they?
Berger to the end of the pit lane, then he'll drop the rev limiter. Sharp right-hand corner, and then hard on the loud pedal to get back up to speed, back into the race, hoping to salvage a dismal season thus far for Gerhard Berger, one of the most experienced drivers in Formula One in his 180th Formula One Grand Prix. We'll be back. Back live at the British Grand Prix, Mika Hakkinen in 2nd place. There's Jean Alesi. And the gap between them, a little over 3 seconds, as you see. A word from the pits is that Damon Hill has reported that it was a mechanical failure that threw him off the track. He had radioed in 5 laps previously that he thought he had a wheel bearing problem. And then he approached Copse Corner, and the car simply snapped around on him. Keep in mind, a year ago, David Coulthard had the same problem at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza and went off twice. Once on the warm-up lap, and then once in the race at the exact same point on the racetrack, the Ascari curve. Ride with Mika Hakkinen.
Yeah, I mean, you have to realize, of course, what happens is that when the wheel gets loose, when the wheel bearing starts to give up, it obviously hasn't totally given up, but you get a wobble on, and therefore the brake does not work as efficiently because the wheel has a movement in it. The whole bearing is shaking, and therefore the brake isn't as efficient as it would be. So the other 3 are efficient, and that one doesn't work. So therefore it just snaps around on you because 1 out of the 4 wheels isn't actually 100% efficiency, and boy, you need it. With the braking areas they are when they're braking, as I said just now, from 180 down to 60 miles an hour in 80 yards, then that takes some efficiency, and of course you lose a percentage of that in your history.
Jean Alesi with Mika Hakkinen in his sights. The Benetton team and the Williams team both working with Trick electronically governed differentials this weekend. Neither team racing them, but both testing them hard. Gerhard Berger was using one in his Benetton in practice. By the way, Berger in his 190th Grand Prix, not 180, I correct myself. So not this year, but certainly next, Gerhard Berger will join the elite club of drivers with 200 Formula One starts. Those being Riccardo Patrese at 256, Andre De Cesaris at 206, and Nelson Piquet at 204. Alain Prost ended his Formula One career with 199 starts. You're into the second half of this race, ticking along at a furious pace. This befits a track that produces average lap speeds of 130 miles an hour. That's the average speed, and you've got slow corners like this one all the way down in 2nd gear.
Yeah, there's a lot of really slow corners, and as I said earlier again, the lap speed used to be 160 mile an hour in qualifying. Very, very, very fast circuit indeed, but what a brilliant circuit to run on to get the car just right. This corner was taken flat at about 160 miles an hour, this famous Woodcote corner. And of course that's where the big incident was with Scheckter, as we mentioned earlier, on the first lap. Too many cars coming there together, one gets out of shape. There's always been a bump on the apex of Woodcote. It's funny how every fast corner in the world seems to have a bump just where you don't want it. But they certainly have it at Woodcote. And they have a little one now at Stowe, which determines the ride height of the car. So of course the car can only, they want the car as low as they possibly can on the road to get as much grip as they can, but of course the highest or the biggest bump on the circuit is the one that determines how low the car can run. As we all know, they have these wooden panels underneath, and you can almost see it as it runs along now. And if that is worn away, well, then, of course, you're going to get penalised.
There is DC, David Coulthard. Line of great Scottish Formula One drivers, including Jimmy Clark and Jackie Stewart, who have taken world championships. Maybe one of Coulthard's future. We'll be back. We are back live at the British Grand Prix, using all of the racetrack, including the pit entrance. To ride with Mika Hakkinen. He's in second place. Jean Alesi, as you see, losing some ground. 3.7 seconds in parentheses is his last gap on the last lap, and now it's up to 4.5.
Hakkinen, in fact, having the best drive he's had for, well, 2 years for sure. An absolutely superb drive he's having today. And the McLaren Mercedes proving that all the work, the development they've done is coming to fruition at last. All right, he's not actually leading the race, but my goodness, he's doing a super job. Of course, he's one of the few drivers out there that have not won, perhaps one of the many drivers out there that hasn't actually won a Grand Prix. But it would be good to see this young man who has got a reputation for possibly not always using his head when he's driving, just uses his incredible natural talent and skills.
Second stop for Rubens Barrichello in the Jordan Peugeot. He had an 8-second stop the first time, 9.7 this time. Now he is clean and green to the finish.
As you come out the pit road, you always have that horrible feeling if you accelerate too hard, you might hit the inside of the fence on the way out. And it's a horrible feeling. You can see also coming in as well, but you are slowing down. But my goodness, going out, you're always terrified about clouting the fence. Nothing more ignominious than clouting it before you get on the track.
Look at the gap Jacques Villeneuve has to Mika Hakkinen. French-Canadian driving incredibly well on a one-stop strategy.
Yes, it makes you wonder, after Damon's beating him in Canada, obviously Jack came back saying, right, sunshine, I'm going to win the race in your country. We'll fix it right up right now. And he certainly looked very strong all weekend.
Well, Villeneuve matched Emerson Fittipaldi by winning in only his 4th Formula One Grand Prix start. We'll have to check the statistics to see how many drivers won 2 races in their first season, or 2 of their first 10. But all that, of course, is premature. Jacques Villeneuve is a long way from winning the British Grand Prix right now. As you look at Martin Brundle, let's review our Haviland race recap. Villeneuve is the leader, has led since lap 31. We've had 2 lead changes between 2 drivers. Jean Alesi being the other. Out of the race, Michael Schumacher, after his, well, let's just say the Ferrari let him down after 3 laps. Eddie Irvine went 2 laps farther. The Ferrari team was ready to pack up and go home. Damon Hill spun off with a mechanical problem. Ricardo Rosset in the arrow's heart. Rikio Katayama is also out, and Pedro Lamy pulled off in the minority.
A little puff of smoke out of the back of Villeneuve's car just now, but I think we saw some of that earlier, so let's hope it's nothing terminal. Doesn't look that way, but there's just a little wisp of smoke every now and again.
Well, like how dirty it's getting offline.
Oh, the lumps of rubber there are astonishing. The Goodyear engineers will have a ball today going around picking up bits of rubber to go back and analyse for their next season's Formula One onslaught.
And I love that story of the Bridgestone spies walking around in plain clothes, surreptitiously scooping up bits of that rubber to analyze for their own purposes.
Yeah, well, it's the way to get there.
Now Lazy closing up again on Hakkinen. It was 3.1, it is now 2.9. Right hand doing the shifting, left hand nice and easy on the steering wheel. Remarkable how calm and collected these guys are in the cockpit. Very little white knuckling going on. Just handle the wheel like a baby.
Of course, to the driver who's sitting there, he has so much time to think about things. It becomes a rhythm. It's when you get back on the road afterwards and find yourself doing 150 miles an hour down the highway that you realize that you've got a bit out of proportion. But when you're on the track, everything goes in slow motion until you go off, of course. But you seem to have plenty of time.
What's going on with Jacques Villeneuve? He just goes very slowly here.
Whoa! It's so tight, that little corner in the middle there, the Brooklands-Luffield complex. Ooh, smoke out of that one, but that's out of one of the Ligiers.
Denise in the Ligier Mugen Honda. I said earlier that...
Whoa, dear, that let loose.
Yes, I'd say
that let loose. Whoa, in the airbox. You actually saw the flames in the airbox. I haven't seen that before. The actual flames came out over his head, and it's probably a good time to get out now, sunshine.
This man has seen fire in that Ligier. Recall the huge explosion he had at at the Grand Prix of Argentina. Now Martin Brundle is in. Third stop for Martin Brundle. I said earlier that Villeneuve was on a one-stop strategy. That's not correct. Villeneuve stopped early as they hosed down the Ligier. It was Jean Alesi that was on a two-stop strategy. Now we hear that Damon Hill was planning a two-stop as well. It's unusual that he was fading in the early going. Now there's Villeneuve, has another stop yet to go, but he has a huge lead and plenty of time to make it. Although there is that spewing out the back of the engine again. Could be some drama for Villeneuve before this race is over. With 20 laps to go, he has it firmly in hand for the moment. The 30-second lead. His team is ready for him. Back at Silverstone Circuit. Don't try this at home, kids. I'm a trained professional. There's Gerhard Berger, trailing his teammate Jean Alesi, third and fourth in this British Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari, long gone. Damon Hill in the Williams, out of the race. Race leader is Jacques Villeneuve. Mika Hakkinen runs second, and then these two Benetton Renaults in third and fourth with 18 laps to go. Now, moments ago, Jacques Villeneuve made his second pit stop of the race, and here it is. Again with used rubber awaiting him, having used all of his previous sets in practice and qualifying. The cars were allowed 7 sets per car during the weekend. You parcel them out as you see fit. A 7.4-second pit stop. Nice effort from the Williams team.
Yeah, that's just what Jacques needed at this point.
He was able to come back out and have the race lead. 9.4 seconds up on Mika Hakkinen. So things looking good for Jacques Villeneuve right now.
Sorry. I was going to say, interesting watching these two going for it, because this is exactly the same as the last race, but he was smoking a lap ago, and he's doing it again now. So that is probably why Alesi's losing a little bit of time. But of course, Berger's going to want to get by. He's not going to get his visor and his whole car plastered in oil, and of course take the risk of spinning out maybe on Alesi's oil or whatever that mixture is coming out of the rear of his car.
Renault engines were bulletproof for the longest length of time in Formula One since they returned to the late 80s, but more recently, with rumors that Ferrari and Peugeot are making more horsepower, Renault has been pushing the envelope further and further, and now we're beginning to see the odd breakdown.
Yeah, Berger, for his own confidence, needs to get by Alesi. Oh, Alesi's pulled right over there, right off the line. Looks like the engine went at that point, and he's just going to cruise in and take the pit road.
Well, as well he should. Get out of his teammate's way.
Yeah, didn't have any option.
Got a couple of Saubers coming up behind him, does Gerhard Berger.
Ooh, it sounds rough, doesn't it? Really rough. Dear, oh dear.
And here's Mika Hakkinen in the McLaren pits. See all the elaborate gear used to protect the mechanics from the fuel in the event of fire. Jean Alesi parks the Benetton in a cloud of smoke.
Oh, look at that smoke. Well, they're changing the wheels, but I can't think quite why. Alesi's got the wheel out, so he's already dismount. That's a pity. He actually was having a very good day today. A very sensible, very calm, controlled race.
See Alesi using that Schumacher-style patch on his helmet. I hadn't noticed that before. There you see oil dripping out of the back of the car.
Yes, it was the right-hand side that it was belching out of that pipe. Oh, it's a bearing. Look at it all around the hub of the car. That's interesting.
That's a right rear.
Yeah, that was the side the smoke was coming from as he was going around.
I presume they put those tires on to push it away, and that's what they'll do. Thought maybe they were going to go find John and say, Mr. Alesi, your car is ready.
I don't think he wants to get in that one in the garage. I'd leave it outside for a while. Let somebody else put the fire out. Well, that leaves Hakkinen a little clearer, unless Berger's going to start working on him.
That pit lane you saw Hakkinen using is a part of one of the different circuit modifications available for club racing and so forth here at Silverstone. That wasn't the Formula One pit lane.
They have actually 7 circuits here at Silverstone, if I'm correct. They used to only have the one, and suddenly they split the whole thing up into different circuits. And it's very useful because, of course, you can do a lot of testing, and they don't seem to have the noise restrictions that they've had at other circuits throughout the country.
Word from the pits is that Jean Alesi cut a wide swath in anger through the Benetton garage, which the Frenchman is somewhat famous for.
Well, you know, he's a character, he's a personality, he's a, as we say in England, he's a gazzer. He's one of your top American footballers who have a lot of flair and natural ability, but just say what they think, do what they want to, but are very natural. They're not a Schumacher. He's not a Schumacher type, very calm and controlled. Alesi is an all-out character.
And of course, that's what helped endear him to the Ferrari fans up until the time he left the team a year ago. Remains a huge favorite in Italy, born in Sicily. Moved to France with his parents. His father was a rally driver, second-generation racer. Jacques Villeneuve is already a second-generation Formula One winner. His late father, Gilles Villeneuve, never won the World Championship. Jacques Villeneuve could take a big step up with 10 points in this race. We'll be back. Back live in Great Britain with the sun shining. Gerhard Berger runs in his 13th British Grand Prix. 12 previous runnings, he has been snake bit. He has only one podium to show for his dozen appearances in this race. He is second right now to Jacques Villeneuve, and he's been told by his pits to play it cool, go easy on the brakes, which may have something to do with his teammate Jean Alesi dropping out with wheel problems. And we've got great baseball action coming your way tonight on ESPN. It'll be the San Francisco Giants visiting the Dodgers behind the National League hitting leader Mike Piazza. Tonight on ESPN from Los Angeles, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. One of the most beautiful places to watch baseball. Chavez Ravine in Los Angeles, California. Here at Silverstone, not a bad place to watch Formula One racing. Gerhard Berger would do much for his own morale. He's had a dismal season thus far. Flashing under the bridge into the Luffield complex. Confirmed from the pits, Jean Alesi brake problems forced him out of the race. Ironically, much the same thing that took Damon Hill out.
I wonder if it was brake fluid onto his brakes. I wonder if something cracked up in that area, because there was smoke out of the back, which made it look like an engine or a gearbox
and
problem.
Something dripping on the ground as well.
There was a fluid on the ground, so, and it was all around that bearing, the hub there. So maybe it was a leaky, you know, joint or something, and therefore he's losing fluid.
There is Jacques Villeneuve. 61 laps scheduled, getting into the late laps now. Time ticking away. Villeneuve, Berger, Hakkinen, Barrichello, Coulthard, and Brundle. Both Jordans in the top 6. That'll provide a lift for Eddie Jordan, and it will do much for the attitude of the participants in Eddie Jordan's post-British Grand Prix party, which will take place here on the infield, featuring pop music stars and traditional Irish sobriety, no doubt.
Oh, absolute sobriety. I've never seen so much booze in my life as I have at that party. But what do you expect? Boy, if Eddie has both his cars finished, it's going to be absolutely wonderful. What a good shot here of Frentzen and Johnny Herbert running nose to tail. That's a really good run for Johnny. He's been right close to Frentzen all weekend, and Johnny is right behind him, albeit in 8th and 9th place. But to have those cars running so well so late in the race and so close together is very good for the team, for Sauber, and of course very good for Johnny Herbert as well, because everybody's ranting and raving about Frentzen. And again, Frank, it's been said about his possible move to Williams that he hasn't exactly overshone this year. They all know he's very good, but he hasn't overshone. So why would he go and replace somebody like Villeneuve or even Hill?
Using a Ford Cosworth V10 that has been a big disappointment to the team thus far this year. That is the engine that will power Jackie Stewart's entry in Formula One next year. The question is, who will his drivers be? Jackie very tight-lipped about it. Said he would start talking to drivers at midsummer. We're at that point now.
But not in England, we're not. Summer hasn't arrived yet, so that's really probably why he hasn't talked to anybody. But they say that Magnussen and the young Brazilian driver,
Gil de Ferran
have signed up, but I doubt that very much personally, but they say so. I still feel they need a driver in there of experience to help sort the team out, help sort the car out.
Jan Magnussen, the Danish star who drives as a test driver for McLaren, but hasn't gotten many laps this year. He is known to want a regular seat in Formula One. He drives in the International Touring Car Championship for Mercedes-Benz right now. Performed brilliantly, replacing Mika Hakkinen last year at AIDA in Japan. McLaren will test some drivers later this year, some young stars of the future, including Michael Schumacher's younger brother Ralph. leads the Formula 3000 championship in Japan at this juncture.
These are the most beautiful aerial shots watching Villeneuve go around the circuit. To see his line to those corners is absolutely pristine. Look at that, within inches of the curb on every corner. It's a wonderful, wonderful shot.
Well, it was for a moment. The IndyCar champion leads the Formula One Grand Prix of Great Britain. We'll be back with more live coverage in just a moment. Stay with us for more from Silverstone. David Coulthard. We haven't called his number much in this British Grand Prix, 47th running of one of the original races on the Formula One World Driving Championship calendar. Bob Varsha along with Derek Bell. You ride with the Scotsman. Now there's been an adjustment in the times for RPM today and tonight. Check RPM today at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. And RPM tonight will be at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's a different time than what we gave you earlier. So make sure you make the adjustment in your own schedule. Good look from on board the McLaren. Not seeing that angle this year.
I wouldn't like to see it either. Did you realize that the first Grand Prix of Great Britain was British Grand Prix was at Brooklands in 1926, the famous Old Bank Circuit, which is now an industrial estate just outside, in fact not far from the McLaren workshops near Woking. But Silverstone opened in 1948. The first Grand Prix, the first round of the World Championship, was in 1950, as we mentioned earlier. But being a British Racing Drivers Club member, of which there are about 800 odd members, 500 of which have been drivers and so on, we actually own Silverstone. So all the money that's taken at Silverstone actually goes all back, is all fed back into the racetrack itself. There's no profits made and money taken off by any other source.
Look how little suspension movement there is in that McLaren.
It's really only the tyre that does the movement, isn't it? Look at that. Just nothing. Well, they say there's about 15 millimeters of movement. Yes, not very much movement at all.
You see the gap. Coulthard back to Martin Brundle. The Scotsman pretty comfortable in 5th place right now, worth 2 points in the World Championship. Britain has held 50 Formula One races altogether, including this weekend's event. But that is not the most among countries. Italy leads with 63. Of course, they have 2, the Italian Grand Prix at Monza and the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola. So do you know the 2nd place country in all-time races presented?
I'm leaving it to you, Bob. You're such a genius.
The United States with 54. Ooh,
oh, he went out wide.
Johnny Herbert.
That was so wide. I thought he was going straight off.
Salo running ahead of Johnny Herbert, ahead of the 2 Saubers you see in the picture there, along with Mika Hakkinen. Tyrrell badly needing a good performance.
Oh, I like that shot. This is round the New Stowe corner.
This is on the
See how it
TWR
tightens up? See how that corner tightens up as you come around? It really is a weird old corner. Then down to the left-hander, which takes you down into Club Corner. Now we have a lightly adverse camber as we come around here. The car wants to move out all the time. You can just about see the camber drifting out onto that curb. And of course we shoot up here to what used to be the fastest left-hander in Europe, but now it's down into Abbey Curb, very slow, 3rd gear corner, 3rd gear again, and then of course up into Bridge. So this corner in qualifying is taken flat out, but on this one you just heard him feather it a bit, back on it again, and then of course into Luffield and the complex, Brooklands complex as it's called, behind the pits.
50 miles an hour or so, right on your chin on the pavement. Johnny Herbert, Sauber Ford. I thought for a moment it was one of the Arrows cars because of all that red and blue.
You can see the bull there, can't you?
Well, now that I know what it is, I can see it, sure. Here are the cars out of the race. Michael Schumacher, 3 laps in the Ferrari. Eddie Irvine, a couple of laps later. Ricardo Rossetto, Ukio Katayama, David Hill, Olivier Panis, and Jean Alesi. We don't see much attrition at the British Grand Prix, which is surprising, given the very fast nature of this racetrack.
See, he doesn't take it quite flat through Bridge Corner, but Damon was saying that they take it flat in qualifying, which figures, and I don't think Villeneuve has to worry about taking it flat right now with 21.8 second lead over Berger. I wonder how that young gentleman's feeling in there right now. Must be really fantastic. He hasn't had a lot of success for quite a while. He's been always in Damon's shadow since his first great victory earlier in the season. And of course, being beaten in Canada couldn't have done his morale any good at all. Then to read about the possibility that he's leaving Williams and that Frenzen's coming and the silly season. And here he is saying, right, boys, I'm going to show you. I'm going to take the British Grand Prix. Wonderful, cool.
Well, that is Villeneuve, isn't it? The Barry Green team at IndyCar Racing learned last year that he is incredibly cool under pressure, almost impervious to it. He does have an iron will. He has taken a slagging. He's gotten a real taste of Formula One press activity. In fact, he's restricted his press activity just a little bit. And you're right, now he's coming back and answering these critics in the best possible way. If he can take his second career win in only his 10th Grand Prix, he'll be off to a lightning start. As you watch Gerhard Berger also having a good race today. As you can see, running slightly slower, but he was quicker on that last lap, 130.3 to Villeneuve's 131.3. Of course, Villeneuve has time to give. We'll be back. Leads the British Grand Prix. Continues to lose time to Gerhard Berger, but he has a fairly substantial lead of about 20 seconds at this point. And that means with about 10 laps remaining, he can pretty much punch up the cruise control and start listening for ominous sounds from the race car.
And that is always the worst part of the race, is when you think you can just cruise and you think, okay, take the old beauty home, and you start to hear funny noises. You say, what was that? And then, of course, you back off the throttle early. I remember leading a race one day, backing off to save the engine, and the engine blew up because of the reverse thrusts. When I spoke to Costa, they said, oh, it's because you backed off, the reverse thrust burst the engine in. So that wasn't a very good idea either. Basically, you just have to drive as fast as you were before, but without taking any risk.
Notice the grandstand remains packed. The British Grand Prix weekend is one of the best buys in worldwide motorsport. A lot of races that we go to around the world, you'll get the Formula One race and nothing else for your ticket price. Here in Britain, there are 7 support races to the British Grand Prix. Formula 3, Formula 3000, touring cars, all sorts of racing going on here at Silverstone this England. And there is something happening every moment. Air shows overhead, action on the infield, you name it.
Berger's clocking in some very quick laps now. Almost as quick as he's been all weekend, but he's really getting it together. Getting the rhythm going, and he's clocking in some 129s, which is within 6 or 7 tenths of Villeneuve's quickest lap for the whole race.
Look there at True Brit, Martin Brundle, still looking for that first Formula One victory in 152 starts.
Yes, as Martin said, we've seen this Peugeot engine is an absolute flyer. Every circuit we've been to this year, they've been fastest in the straight sections. The car, they run the car with very little drag, or relatively little drag, but it does step out of line occasionally. This is the bit that catches the boys out. You just saw it, had him with a little bit there. But he does say that the car, you know, if we could only improve it, the whole chassis, the handling of the chassis, not the aerodynamics so much, but the actual handling, then of course they'd have a winning car. And of course that Peugeot engine is going to be very, very popular by the end of next season. And when Renault pull out, lots of teams are going to be after that engine, as of course they will with maybe BMW and certainly with Honda.
Look at Rubens Barrichello. Martin Brundle knows well how far the Peugeot engine has come. He had it at his back when he was with the McLaren team a couple of seasons ago, and they were blowing them up on a regular basis. But now, after 2 seasons with the Jordan team, Peugeot may be the most powerful engine in Formula One. Certainly the Jordans among the fastest cars in a straight line.
It's so difficult to get that ideal combination of getting the handling and the power to work together. You could have a car, as they've had with the Mercedes, I would say, on the McLaren. They've had a lot of power, but it's actually getting the whole package to work and getting the rev band right and getting the torque of the engine in the right place, so that you get progression when you accelerate. In the middle of the corner, when you back off and get back on it again, the car actually re-accelerates without any stuttering or with sort of fluidity.
You see the running order. We'll take a quick timeout. The lap's running down. Just a handful remaining. The 47th running of the British Grand Prix. Who will win? Find out shortly. Stay with us.
Outstanding from Gerhard. That's really going to lift his morale as well. It's interesting how the ups and downs in racing, but 2 drivers today, first and second place, will go home feeling $1 million.
Gerhard Berger, no doubt, wanting to extend his career until the Austrian Grand Prix is back on the schedule, which may be as early as next year. Bertie Ecclestone recently went and gave a modification of the old Zaltweg course the thumbs up. Here comes Mika Hakkinen to make his first podium of the year, and a big boost for the McLaren Mercedes team.
Boy, they really needed that. That was a beautiful piece of driving by Hakkinen. I'm sure he's very pleased that's all over. A lot of G-forces. They're pulling up to 3.8 G around that circuit in certain places. Very hard on the driver. He is not that fit. Still hasn't really, I don't think, 100% fit since his crash last year.
There's Rubens Barrichello. And here comes David Coulthard. Barrichello 4th, Coulthard 5th. And I believe Martin Brundle is still in that 6th and final position. This will be a good moment for Coulthard, who didn't finish the race Well, he finished, but not where he should have last year. He was battling for the race lead with Johnny Herbert when he was called in for a penalty for speeding in the pit lane and dropped back to third. There is Jacques Villeneuve with his second Formula One win. There you see the numbers on it, 93 minutes and change. A very, very quick run on a Sunday afternoon in Britain. We have lots of time still to come here on the show, so we hope to hear from our top finishers. And we'll certainly have the podium for you as the maple leaf flag of Canada waves in the grandstand. A victory for Villeneuve and Williams. There you see the running order at the finish. Barrichello, Coulthard, Martin Brundle officially 6th, followed by Mika Salo for Tyrrell, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, defending champ Johnny Herbert, and Jos Verstappen. Fast lap for Villeneuve. Stay with us. Back live in Great Britain, Gerhard Berger walks up to congratulate winner Jacques Villeneuve. Martin Brundle is already there. This is one of the classic moments in Formula One when the race is over, the drivers can relax. Villeneuve in his bulky driver's suit likes to wear it nice and loose, which takes a long time to get into the race car, but in the race car today he was absolute dynamite. Now they make their way to the podium. Congratulations from Johnny Herbert in the orange and black helmet, last year's winner of this race. There you see the Constructors' Championship points, the tail end of the group. Interesting that 9 different teams have scored points this year, with the 11 in the series. This is Parc Fermé. A good look inside. The cars will be scrutinized. Johnny Herbert, incidentally, was disqualified from the results of the French Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. And now Jacques Villeneuve going to make completely sure that this rig is on the up and up.
Looked like the drivers were all being weighed on that scale on the left front. I know it's very critical. Yeah, they're all going up there to be weighed on the left front side. And of course the car will come up in a second, but that'll be weighed up there as well.
David Coulthard in red, Mika Salo in blue. Congratulating Villeneuve.
That was a very good run for Mika Salo too, you know. We haven't said much about him. A great drive by Häkkinen. That was a superb drive by him. He does look as though he earned it too. Boy, did he work himself there. Very hard drive. I think he deserved second, really, but he didn't. I don't know quite where they lost it. The extra pit stop, I guess. It always seems like an anticlimax here. There's none of the fans. There's none of your team. You're just there on your own, walking around, having won probably the greatest race of his life. And he's walking around, you know, with nobody around. No celebration at all.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen talking with Johnny Herbert. There's Gerhard Berger. Well, of course, your team is not allowed to touch you or the car until everybody and everything goes through final scrutineering. The fact that these drivers so much as talk to a member of the press, they can be fined up to $10,000. You saw them just telling some of the drivers not to go out the back. No doubt there's a pressman back there trying to get a quick and exclusive interview. Nope, can't talk to Jacques right now. He's got to go to the podium. Representative of Goodyear, ready with the all-important baseball caps. Wear for pictures that will go out around the world. Nearly 200 countries watching the same pictures you are. Formula One, one of the most popular forms of sport, certainly the most popular form of motorsport in the world. Second in television ratings only to World Cup soccer every 4 years, and that other great quadrennial, the Olympic Games, coming up in Atlanta in just a few days. It's interesting. These are the first pictures we've gotten of the drivers climbing the stairs, so evidently British television has some access that we've not seen in earlier races.
Well, they're making the most of it because BBC lose it and it becomes ITV next year, so they've lost the concession for a small, cool £56 million or $85 million. It's gone to another concession for the future.
Also in a television vein this weekend, Formula One is rehearsing a new pay-per-view system that will be available first in Germany and Austria for a fee and a decoder box. You'll be able to get 5 separate channels from every Formula One race, including the world feed, onboard cameras, timing and scoring, a pit camera, you name it. It's expensive, but it will provide unprecedented access to a Formula One race. Notice the wraps on Gerhard Berger's hands. Keep in mind he's not using a manual shift lever anymore. Now on to the podium. In the background, the clubhouse of the British Racing Drivers Club, owners of the Silverstone Circuit. Prince Michael of Kent on the left. welcoming Jacques Villeneuve to the podium along with Gerhard Berger and Mika Hakkinen. Trophies will be presented, and then Canadian national anthem will play in honor of Jacques Villeneuve. Now God Save the Queen plays in honor of the winning team, British-based Williams. Well, the British fans came with Damon Hill's name emblazoned on their Union Jacks. It was certainly a great day for the Williams team. But in the person of Hill's teammate, Michael Schumacher, His Royal Highness Prince Michael of Kent presents the trophy to Jacques Villeneuve. Prince Michael is the patron of the Royal Automobile Club, which sanctions this race on behalf of Great Britain.
And also the British Racing Drivers Club.
The Williams team collects the Constructors' Trophy. Now Gerhard Berger choosing not to use his left hand. I wonder if he injured himself. And to Mika Hakkinen, third place. And no doubt Ron Dennis will tell us later, well, that's nice, but we're still not where we want to be, where we are accustomed to being. Now the silver magnum of Moet et Chandon, with new Formula One tradition.
That's right, which at the end of the year, incidentally, Bob, the winner of most of the races, the highest number of victories, he will receive a silver-plated bottle of champagne. In fact, that, but in silver, full silver, to take away at the end of the year, whereas now it's only donated as a shake-up.
Right now, that honor will apparently go to Damon Hill with 6 victories on the year, but Jacques Villeneuve becomes the second double winner of the year behind his teammate. Who can blame them for wanting to spend an extra moment on the podium in front of these delirious British fans? We'll take a quick break and return to hear what our top finishers have to say in this 47th running of the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Stand by for more live from Britain. Welcome back to the British Grand Prix. Here's another look at the start of the race as Jacques Villeneuve to the top of the screen got a great start as Damon Hill faded. Meanwhile, Mika Hakkinen in the red and white McLaren and Jean Alesi in the blue and white Benettons rocketed to the front to do battle with Villeneuve. Michael Schumacher in the red Ferrari also got by Damon Hill. Schumacher's race did not last long. He dropped out after just 3 laps. His teammate Eddie Irvine also went to the sidelines, as did Damon Hill. And Jacques Villeneuve came through to take his second career Grand Prix win with an outstanding drive. Now let's go to the press room to hear from our top finishers.
Yeah, I'm very happy, and you know, after the first win, we had a few good results, but we're most of the time second behind Damon. So, you know, we really wanted to put one on him.
You had a good start, and then you pushed very hard initially, building up a good lead. That must have been very reassuring.
Yeah, we had a pretty good start. Jean Alesi had an even better one, and it was a good fight into turn one. But once I was in the lead and I knew Damon was in second, I pushed really hard. So if he was able to get second and then he could run quickly, at least I would have a big gap.
Halfway through, you built up a lead of about 30 seconds. Did you have any difficulty concentrating once you were so far out ahead?
No, because after the pit stop, I was just behind Jean, and I knew he was on one pit stop, so it was important to keep pushing until I had finished my second pit stop to see where we were.
Gerhard, we haven't seen you since San Marino. It must be great to be back in the top three.
Well, yeah, it's a hard season for me, for my team. So that's why we are very happy about the result today. I mean, I had not a very good position in the starting grid. My start was okay, but Eddie Irvine was quite hard in the first corner and he goes for it. And I didn't want to take any risk because I saw I need to get points, I need to get the team confident, I need points for the Construction Championship, so I didn't get any fight. And once I was 8, so I just pushed. I know I was on one stop and the most of the cars in front of me was on 2 stops. So I just had to keep with them going and I know I was going to be in front of them all. And once I had 3, I pushed very hard. I slowly catched Jean. And just when I was behind him, I think he started to get a bit brake problems. Naturally myself too, and I start to play a bit on the brake balance and I get it just right until some laps before the end. And then I had really brake problems and I slowed down.
And we saw that on the television. We saw a pit board with cool brakes for you. Do you think you could have passed Jean if neither of you had had no problems?
Well, you never know. You know, I mean, I catched him in the second set of tires because in the first set I wasn't happy with the tire pressure. The car didn't handle nice, but after I stopped and I had the second set of tires on, I felt good and I could come immediately closer to Jean. So, you never know. Last race I couldn't overtake him because he didn't do a mistake. This race, I don't know, maybe I could.
Mika, your first finish in the top 3 this year. The last time we saw you was in Japan. Bearing in mind what's happened in Australia and everything, this must be a very emotional moment for you to be back on the podium.
Well, I don't know if it's emotional, but it is a fantastic feeling. I mean, these 2 guys were too quick today. I mean, there's no chance to catch them or overtake them or anything, and I just to keep my position and go maximum what the car can go. And he brought me a 3rd position, which is absolutely more than I expected to come here, this British Grand Prix.
You had a fantastic start and then had quite a long battle with Damon. When Damon made a move and had a car failure going off the track, were you aware of that? Could you see that in your mirrors or not?
Yeah, he was all the time, you know, very close to me on first part of the section, which I knew that his car was definitely better in the first section. And he was always catching me hanging straight and straighten my tail in a stall. And then again I pull away in a couple of corners and there he came again behind and came one point we came out of the complex to main pit straight where is the start-finish line. And we were heading for the Copse, which is the very first corner of the track. And there he was again very close behind. And I think suddenly he disappeared from the mirrors and I guess he went a bit wide.
Jacques, Hockenheim, do you know the circuit there at all? What are your feelings about going onto the German Grand Prix?
No, I've never been there.
Just straight
out. It's a pretty quick track. From what I've heard, it's not too complex, and we've got a pretty efficient car on downforce, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Okay, now some thoughts on the race in your own language.
Je suis très satisfait de la course aujourd'hui. Je savais qu'après le warm-up, on avait une bonne voiture et que ça allait être très important de prendre un bon départ. Et le départ, ça s'est bien passé. Mais bon, Jean Alesi était quand même pris un meilleur départ et c'était une bonne bataille dans le premier virage. Et ensuite, une fois que j'étais en tête, j'ai attaqué pour être sûr d'avoir une bonne avance au cas où Damon se retrouve deuxième et me rattrape. Et bon, ensuite, lorsque j'ai vu Damon sortir de la piste, je me concentrais sûrement sur Jean Alesi car je savais qu'il avait un seul arrêt au puits. Puis après, il fallait juste rouler sans faire d'erreur.
And Gerhard, some thoughts from you?
Ich bin ziemlich glücklich über den 2. Platz, speziell fürs Team, weil wir haben sicherlich eine sehr, sehr schwierige Zeit momentan. Wir versuchen, den Williams näher zu kommen. Es gelingt uns nicht so richtig, speziell im Qualifying. is the
All right,
performance
well,
van
the
zijn auto niet
finishers
zo goed.
address their home countries in their native language. We'll take a timeout and return for final thoughts from the British Grand Prix. Stand by. We'll leave you with a final look at some of the sights and sounds of the 47th running of the British Grand Prix. Congratulations to Jacques Villeneuve, Gerhard Berger, and Mika Hakkinen making the podium. Our next stop will be the Grand Prix of Germany, qualifying on Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Live coverage of the Grand Prix on Sunday, the 28th of July, 7:45 a.m. Eastern, 4:45 a.m. Pacific. I'm Bob Varsha for Derek Bell. We'll see you in Germany in 2 weeks. So long for now from England.